means you now. It's time to step up and get busy and get wicked on them too. Right, you think this thing will come easy? You're fooling yourself. Nah, come easy, baby, right? Nah, give up this so easy. And the first step in the journey, comrades, is to win back local government in the next election. When we do that, Jamaica, as I said, the table turn. We know when the good boy mounted you, Minister Scandal, McCarthy. Everywhere him go, scandal, follow him. And he might talk about, yeah man, them love to see me in charge because he knows so we can't win. Yeah man, go and talk them thing there. Go and run up about them way the minister scandal. Because me I come amongst the people, them, and when we talk to people, them know so we're real. I mean, them my heart is with them. And I them will come for serve. We don't come here so we scream. We don't come here so we get no money out of politics. We done make my money already. There are big liar in this country, big investment banker. And the whole of them know none of politics. We know business and that. We don't set it already for me and my family. We come here so now to help the people them. And I believe the country, I build the culture, I build the economy. So you can great and that's the man.
So you would have heard the Englishman in the first clip of things he had to say at different times. One, about the need for the comrades to get wicked upon them. And upon them, he talk about the labor rights in order to get into power. That he made his money already when he was in business. So he and his family are now comfortable. That's basically what he's saying. And therefore, we should draw from that the conclusion that since he already made his money for him and his family, and they are comfortable, that he did not come into politics to scrape. He had enough for himself and his family. We are going to put that to the test. He also said he doesn't need to scrape, although he would have many opportunities to. He doesn't need to scrape from the public purse or scrape public lands, right? The inference we must draw from that is that had the reverse been true, had he not been well off, had he not made his money already, had he been poor, then he might have gone into politics to scrape. Or at any rate, those persons who are not in the position that he is in, he wants you to believe that he has his money. Those persons who are poor or, have to make their way in life, he would have you believe that these are persons who we should expect would come to politics to scrape. But a man like him will have money already. Him don't need to scrape. Now, the question is though, when we test this theory of his, is how did he come by that money he has in the first place? Did he make the money doing business, competing with others? Or did he make his money through connections and his political connections of Peter Bunting in the 1990s? And what happened, if anything, why they sold the business and went into another business, and why it is that they are now seeking to get into Jamaica House. Since the business of politics and the business of politicians are to put in place policies that are beneficial to the people in general, the environment, the country. We are also going to test to see what capacity does this Englishman have or has to make the changes that he claimed in Thompson Town to build the economy and build the country and uplift the country. He must have some capacity for that. It must have been demonstrated somewhere that he has the capacity in order to bring that about, right? Now, before a person can do anything, the first thing that they need to do is to have a vision. It's all now about your imagination. You must have a vision of what it is you want to do and how you are going to go about doing it. So after you formulate your vision, the next thing you want to ask yourself is, how am I going to accomplish this vision? And that now becomes the basis on which you may now act. The next question to ask is, how are you going to implement your vision? You need to know if there's a cost component involved and where that money is going to come from. You also want to have an idea in your mind as to how long it will take to implement. We are going to examine whether it is or not that Mark Golding and Peter Bunting, they have such visions for this country and what the vision may be. I have not heard any vision being articulated. What I've heard are the little populist argument that is designed to make people feel that they are going to do something without saying that they're going to do anything. So they'll come and tell the people something is wrong with the education, the roads them now fixed, the hospital popped down, and all these things, which are merely pointing out what the problems are. But in pointing out that you see problems does not necessarily equate to the idea that you even know how to solve it. It is a solution that you need to come with whenever you're pointing out a problem. Now, Mark Golding told you that he want to build Jamaica, right? And he wants to build the economy. The question I need to ask him, what steps has he taken to build the economy in South St. Andrew? Because that is where you're going to practice. That is where people are going to see. Is South St. Andrew anything like Mandeville when Cecil Charlton was mayor? And the oldsters will know what I'm talking about. But feel free to tell the youngsters in the comment section what we're talking about. Anybody go to Mandeville was so impressed? For me, he has been the best politician that this country has seen since independence. Because he had a vision. And funny enough, he was not an educated man. Left school when he was 10. Whatever he learned was self-taught. But he had a vision that he wanted a Mandeville that is clean. And he set about making Mandeville clean. So for me, he is the best politician. We should look and seek to measure all our politicians, whether they are at the constituency level or the divisional level, based upon what he was able to achieve. He should be the man that we put up and say to them, look, if you can't keep your town clean, where you look what you want, no. And we need to start to find people. We need to find the Cecil Charltons of the world in this country. They are there. Find them and put them up. And then you will see better in your country. has Mark Golding, Englishman, can you tell us what economic development you have brought to your constituency? It doesn't have to be your money. You say Tapanaris people. How many Tapanaris people have gone down there to invest? The housing solutions, they are in dreadful condition. Many of the people are squatting. Have you tried to help any of those people to own the properties that the owners of the property, original owners, have abandoned? They've abandoned and now coming back, some of them dead. The children don't even know so them own these properties. Have you sought to help any of those constituents by virtue of the law to do with adverse possession, which is perfectly legal for them to acquire title for the property that they occupy for years? You haven't tried to do that. You don't mean these people any good. You all want to use us black people as stepping stone in order to reach where you want to reach, and it clearly is not to do anything for any of us. You say you don't make your money already, that you and your family comfortable, and I suppose satisfied with the money that you made. But, and it's a really big but, is that really so? Well, let us examine the facts. So let us take a ride back into time in our time machine. Not going far back, just to 2006, when DBNG was sold to the Bank of Nova Scotia. And there was a settlement price. What was the settlement price, Mark? What was it that they offered you, and what was it that you accepted? Well, it's very difficult to read, but let me try my best. BNS settles for less, acquires 65% of Daring Bunting and Golding. They wanted originally to purchase 75 to 80% of the shares, and they had made an offer. Let's see what that would be. Daring Bunting and Golding stock leaps to an all-time high of $24 before settling down to $23 as news emerged that Bank of Nova Scotia, Jamaica was 10 points shy of its 75% minimum takeover target. Yesterday, BNS told Wednesday Business it would settle for the 65% take-up Monday, 25% more than it acquired under lock-up agreements with Daring Bunting and Golding directors and associated shareholders in October 18. This date was November 29, 2006. If none of the investment bank's remaining shareholders felt compelled to sell during the extended 2-week offer period to December 11. They are quoting now, "We've got over 65% of the shares tendered by shareholders, and even though we haven't received a 75% and more, we are still happy." And I don't know what that is saying about the wealth management unit. BNS Wealth Management Unit told Wednesday Business. DBNG Executive Chairman Peter Bunting was similarly pleased, but perhaps more so that BNS was pressing ahead with the takeover. "I'm very happy the transaction was successful," said Bunting in a reaction late Tuesday. Though it was marginally below, it's within 10% of their target. Bunting told Wednesday Business, however, that up to 5 p.m. Monday, the takeover was about 3 points above the 65% that BNS estimates that it had successfully acquired. At the offer price of $21.08. So, Mark, for each one of your 10 cents shares that you had with DBNG, BNS offered to pay you guys $21.08. Now that is good business. You make a lot of money, man. So let me read it again. at the offer price of $21.08, BNS would have paid approximately $4.2 billion for the 2/3 of the company it now holds, or $4.4 billion if the take-up was 68%, as otherwise suggested. No adjustment. Executive Chairman Peter Bunting would have got $905.47 million, that's Jamaican, of the amount. Mark Golding, $609.8 million. And President Gary Sinclair, through his company, Platoon Limited, would have gotten $284.9 million. So, Mark, you had something in the order of 28 million shares, 14 million in your name, 14 million another company that you own, right? So that's why they total it up, 28 million. Then they multiply that by 21.08 dollars, and so that's how they arrived at you receiving, or should have received, a total of $609 million. Congratulations to you. Now, when I did my little calculation at the exchange rate on that very day, the exchange rate was $69 and some change. Now, I think it's $69.04. We don't know when you actually got that money, but it worked out roughly to $8.7 million. That's what you got as your portion of the sale of Daring, Bunting and Golding in 2006. Congratulations to you. Now, this is money that we know about. This is money that was declared. This is money that you would have paid taxes on. And this is money that you would have put down one side somewhere. We don't know how much money you made in your law firm. We don't know that. We don't know about any other investments that you may have before that. We don't know the amount of dividend that you received from the EBNG or any other companies that you were investing in at that time if you had shares elsewhere. We don't know that. We don't know how much money you inherited from daddy or from your grandma in the trust fund. We don't know that. And frankly, none of that is relevant. We know that you received the equivalent of $8.7 million in 2006 from the sale to BNS. Anything else that you may have stashed anywhere is irrelevant. That's not relevant. We're working now with what we know as factual. We in Jamaica 411, we deal with facts. So let us look at the facts. The fact is, Mark, that you received this money in 2006. But when you made your statutory declaration in 2022, according to you, you had assets, net assets, or your net worth, when I took out all your liabilities, totaling $11,000. Your net worth in 2022 was $2.9 million. To be exact, $2,986,963.39. We're going to call that $2.9 million. So that was what you declared in 2022. Now, when we look at what you received from the sale of Daring, Bunting and Golding in 2006, $8,749,132.12. We're going to call that $8.7 million. When we take that into account, that was where you started. Leave off everything else that you may have had. We don't know about those. We don't care about those. We are focusing on facts, what we know to be factual. If you never had another cent, doesn't matter. 8.7 million was what you received in 2006. When we take into account what you now say you have, which is 2.9 million, it means that over the 16-year period, you lost $5,762,168.73. We're going to call that 5.7 million. You lost 5.7 million. And to be clear, what that means as a percentage, so you can see clearly what I'm talking about, it meant that Mark Golding lost 65.9% of the monies that he had in 2006. That's what that meant. He took that money and invested it, and he has lost, because it was US, he has lost 65.9% of that money in 16 years. And if I may offer you further clarity as to what that means, it means that he has lost an average 3.7% per annum of the 8.7 million he had received from the sale of Derren Bunting and Golding from 2006 until 2022. Right? Now, look at it in terms of Mark. He's now 59 years old. And if he were fortunate enough to live until he's, say, 80 years old, which is a bit longer than his father did, you're talking about 21 years. This is what he would have been seeing as a family man, right? He'd be looking at the fact that he may live to be as old as, say, 80. That's another 21 years. And at that rate, at the rate at which he's losing money, 3.7% per annum, and having lost 5.7 million in 16 years, by the time he gets to 80, he will be seeing or looking at the prospect of being wiped out. And this is the reality of Mark Golding's financial position. And it's all based upon what he declared. And what he declared was that in 2022, his net assets stood at 2.9 million, coming down from the 8.7 million US that he received from the sale of his shares in Derren Bunting and Golding to BNS. So that was what you declared. Now, there is no need for anyone to assume that you have hidden the money. There is no need for you to hide the money. You only hide money when you're trying to evade tax or avoid tax. You already would have declared that money to the taxman because everybody know you're getting it. See here, it was in the Gleaner. It was a big discussion at the time. And everybody knew, including the taxman or anybody who cared to know, that you were getting this money. Therefore, there was no need for you to hide the money or any part of it. You only hide money whenever there is reasons to hide it and you had no reason to. But when you look at the DB&G sales and what he got for that, he would have recognized he was losing money rapidly, and at that rate, he and his wife and his family would have been wiped out. Now, Mark, tell us again that you and your family is comfortably off because you done make your money already. Yes, you made money already, but you're losing it. Following Bunting into all kind of ventures, I suppose. And if you're fortunate enough to survive the Integrity Commission at the rate at which they're going, I would love to see what it is that you declare for this year. With the proven shares going down 50%, it lost last year. So far from being comfortable with your financial status, Mark, you must be very worried. I would be too. I mean, when you're broke is one thing, you're broke, you just broke. But when you have it and losing it so rapidly, because you're not business, you're not really businessmen, not gifted businessmen in any way. You know, you guys can do a little something and make money, but you're not gifted at it. Not at all. So the question I would like to ask, if I may, I hope you don't mind if I ask you a question, Mark, and you can answer it if you want, Bunting. But at what point did you guys decide that the way forward is to get into politics so you can put yourselves in a position where you can now command the resources and, well, let's leave it at that. And I also would like to ask, since you mentioned it, at what point did you decide that you really need to put yourselves in a position that will enable you to scrape? Is that a better question for you, Mark? And let me tell you why. Because when you look at your constituency, Mark, there is nothing about the constituency, no development as far as we know of, right? No major development. I mean, you have friends and you have a whole heap of empty lands me here down there where you can invite your friends with money to come in and invest. We don't know of any such thing that is occurring. At least the people on there didn't report any such thing. I hear there is raw sewage that is flowing on Charlie Smith Drive. Is that in your constituency, Mark? That's what I heard for weeks. So you are not there to represent people. Your sole ambition, you and Bunting, is to get hold of power. You want to go in a Jamaica house. And the only reason why you could want to go into Jamaica house is to command the resources, because you have not displayed in any event any vision for this country, any ideas in how to solve our problems. So you could not be going there for those reasons. And if not, then you must be going there to scrape. And when we look at your financial position, Mark, and I suspect Bunting's financial position may not be any better, I think the evidence would suggest that your financial position is not as you would have us believe. Yes, you do have money, but it's dwindling fast, and that cannot be comfortable. And so your reasons that you give for why you are not there to scrape is now redundant. And the evidence would show, because you both made your fortune initially largely through government, that the reason why you return to government from the private sector, where you're not doing very well at all, is in order for you to be able to scrape. How else are you going to make back that money that you've lost so far? I mean, let's look at this thing from a practical position. You're in the private sector. You came in the Senate. You then move on to government, and you're losing your shirt on average 3.7%. 65.9% of what it is that you gain, you lost. And you haven't done what most people would have done: leave politics and go back to the private sector where you can now build back your fortune. No, that's not what you're doing. What you're doing instead, while you're losing money, is seeking to go into government. What other reason could you possibly be going into government for, when your real problem on a personal level is that you're losing your fortune and it will be wiped out in another few years? In my view, Mark, this is evidence, not even circumstantial evidence either. I would regard this as direct evidence. And that is the evidence I believe that the people should look at when deciding whether or not you are going to be any less thief than anybody else. When we take into consideration the fact that your resources are dwindling so fast, $5 million, $5.7 million in 16 years, and you can't do anything about that, why should anybody believe that you can do anything about the economy? So I'm looking forward to seeing this next declaration, because if it is anything less than what it was last year, it will only serve to prove my point. Anyway, folks, that's what I have for you today. Thank you so much for listening to me. Please remember to share the video, leave your comments, like the video, and subscribe. Until next time, take good care of yourselves and walk good.
Colonialism into independence and free the people them from injustice. Your party needs you now. It's time to step up and get busy and get wicked on them too. Right, you think this thing will come easy? You're fooling yourself. It nah come easy, them right now. Give up this so easy. And the first step in the journey, comrades, is to win back local government in the next election. When we do that, Jamaica, as I said, the table turn. We know when the little boy mounted you know, Minister Scandal McCarthy. Because everywhere him go, scandal follow him. And he talk about, yeah man, they love to see me in charge because he knows so we can't win. Yeah man, go and talk them thing there. Go and run up about them way the minister scandal. Come here, go amongst the people, them, and when we talk to people, them know so we're real. I mean, them my heart is with them, and I them will come for stuff. We don't come here so we scream. We don't come here so we get no money out of politics. We done make my money already. There are big liar in this country, big investment banker. And the whole of them know none of politics. We know business and that. We don't set it already for me and my family. We come here so now to help the people them. And I believe the country, I build the country, I build the economy, so you can great. And that's the man. So people, now I beg you one thing, take this thing serious. Make some sacrifice to make we come through this time. We have built something together now, people. We have built back the thing for the People's National Party, for Jamaica land we love. We want to build a good society. The farmers have a proper government to support them. They must struggle right now. The fertilizer price, we don't hear all the time. The government not know about that. We have to deal with them things where storage, them produce and market get soft on them. Them not lose them crop. Them not lose them investment and them work. Some of them think they might come and they don't max it out a long time, you know. And talk about AMC, Agricultural Marketing Corporation. Protect the risk they offer the farmer and still protect the farmer from them things. Better irrigation, farm roads. These things are important. We have to uplift the people and give them a chance. They will do the work, give them the support. That will come for them. So people, I beg you, just get serious with this thing. Make the sacrifice, house to house, every PNP, everybody who ever vote PNP and still alive. Make them come support the man in the Thompson Town division. Make sure they win. Because we want that man for town mayor for the whole of Clarendon. We want back Clarendon. So comrades, we just want to get, nothing you don't really know me, you know. Probably some of you are saying it for the first time, I listen for the first time. We want you to understand who it is. See? Because jungle will represent heart of the PNP. Yeah. I'm proud of them. And them give me a strength. We don't feel that no guy in a parliament can't tell me nothing. I just 14 away in there. But the 40, how much are them 49 of them? Enough of them now, nothing for say. Enough of them just dead like some empty barrel and big peering knives. We are afraid of them. Because we don't know what the law is about. Everything we bring, we don't penetrate, understand it, and see where it's lacking and where it's good. And we can talk for the people and make sure say what is done makes sense. And if they listen, and sometimes they listen because they know say, and the real thing we are talk, we improve the law and we are passed. Sometimes they don't want to listen and be pure foolishness. So that's the thing. Look. Anyway, people, the word is love. Love every time. Yeah, man. We love the party. So we say, power to the people. Power to the people.
Why, yes, man?